Eric, Angel, bravi, and congratulations for an incredible part one. Oh, I was backstage just cavelling. Angel, I know from experience that Bess is a character filled with internal demons. So how do you connect with this complicated woman?
I think that we're all sort of like Bess in a way. I feel like I have things in my life. She just struggles with addiction. I struggle with other things, you know. And so I think that in playing her character, I just try to look at her as really as myself. There's things we're always sort of wanting to be the better version of ourselves, and I think that's what Bess is really looking for, even though in the end she doesn't. Well, maybe I shouldn't spoil it.
No spoilers. Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Eric, what about Porgy, who seems so straightforward and open in his love for Bess? What about him do you connect to?
Well, he's just looking for, in the beginning, he's someone who's looking for a certain acceptance that he doesn't know yet. Like all of us, he's looking for love. Yeah. He's looking for love, and he's found a love that he hasn't known yet in Bess, and it's a wonderful thing. Am I looking for love? Who knows?
We'll talk about that later. And we all know Bess, You Is My Woman, I Got Plenty of Nuttin', and of course Summertime, which is the most covered song in all of history. But do you feel that these tunes take on a different life within the context of the opera?
Absolutely.
I think so.
And it's a big responsibility to not have them all of a sudden become this concert piece.
Right.
It has to fit within the drama. I mean, especially Bess, You Is My Woman now, that duet.
Absolutely.
It's coming from something, and it's not certain at the beginning when he's saying Bess, You Is My Woman, because you know, it would be terrible if he said, I love you, and then she hauled off and said, thank you. You know, she's like, well, I'm not your woman. No, but there's a progression within the music number that has to take place.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And the Met has released a recording of one of your performances of Porgy and Bess from last fall, right? What does it feel like to know that your performances have been immortalized in this way?
Surreal. It's wild.
It's wild. I wouldn't have thought that this would be possible.
But so well deserved, so well deserved. Angel and Eric, I want to let you guys get some rest before the second half. Thank you so much for speaking to me, Toy, and we'll see you in the second half. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I have the pleasure of speaking with our director, James Robinson, and our choreographer, Camille A. Brown. Hello to you both.
How are you?
This production, so beautiful, and it's been such a huge hit. You know, sold out performances every night. Now, aside from the wonderful music, what do you think it is about Porgy and Bess that is resonating so powerfully with audiences in 2020, James?
It's such a timeless story. I think people can relate to it in a way that makes it this universal story. You know, everybody in the cast wants something, and it's very complex. But I think there's just something really approachable about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really about the community and the heartbeat and the rhythms that come out of the Black experience. So it's not about performing the Black experience, but really showing the authenticity of who we are.
There is such energy and emotion in your choreography. You're telling a story. And I understand that you were working on movement, not only with your dancers, but with the entire ensemble. In fact, we have a clip of you in rehearsal with the company.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant.
Great.
Roll clip.
1, 2, 3, Yes, a woman is a song.
So, Camille, tell us about the creative impetus behind the movement language that you've brought to this production. It really is a language, it feels like.
Thank you. It's really about pulling from the gestural information of us because we all have blood memory, and out of that blood memory comes gesture. So it was really about empowering the entire cast to feel confident about what is their blood memory and how can they feel empowered enough to show it in a really brave and bold way.
Absolutely. And ever since its premiere in 1935, Porgy has, of course, received its share of controversy because it's a story of African-American characters, but created by an all-white composer librettist team. So how did each of you grapple with that?
Well, I think we look at the original source material, and DuBose Hayward, who wrote the book, really had a fondness and a devotion to the people that he was writing about. And then I think George Gershwin had great affinity for it and passion for bringing these people to life. And the fact that he insisted that it be performed with an all African-American cast was quite revolutionary at the time. So I think that there's something really enduring and beautiful about it.
I think it's really important as a Black woman to really show it through my lens and what the Black experience is.
Absolutely.
So inside of that navigating of the Gershwins, I also want to find and be empowered to share what the experience looks like from my lens and from my view. So that's really how I approached it. How do we really honestly tell this story in an authentic and real way?
And you feel it, absolutely. Thank you so much. The production is extraordinary. And thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This production marks the return of Porgy and Bess to the Met stage for the first time in 30 years, and I saw that production 30 years ago. And in recognition of that momentous event, the company has organized an exhibition in the Opera House called Black Voices at the Met. The show pays tribute to the many extraordinary African-American artists who have graced the stage, as well as those who were denied the opportunity. It runs all season long, and you don't need a performance ticket to visit. And I'm joined now by the exhibition's curators, Maurice Wheeler and Carolyn Gusky. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Maurice, tell us about Black Voices at the Met, and what was the idea behind this exhibition?
Well, the idea came about in the archives. The head of the archives, Peter Clark, invited us to join with him and his staff, along with the designer, Jess Bell Brown, to create an exhibition that really would tell a broader and also a more nuanced story of Black singers at the Met. Many people are aware of the career of Marian Anderson, and of course, Martina Arroyo, Leontine Price, and a range of others. But very little is known, or at least talked about, in terms of other singers from that same generation, such as Robert McFerrin, or Gloria Davy, or Mattie Wilda Dobbs. And so it's important for us to make sure that our history is raised to a level that it continues to be a part of our discussion, including, as you mentioned, the singers who did not have a chance to perform, such as Paul Robeson. And so we're really excited about this opportunity. We're especially excited that the Met has released a new CD, which enables the public to actually hear the voices in Met performances of some of those earlier singers and singers throughout the generations of the history of the Met.
Oh, that's incredible. I can't wait to get my copy. Carolyn, can you give us an overview of what's featured in the show?
Yes, we, with the very generous support of the Ford Foundation, were encouraged to take a broad view of an entire century of African-American history at the Met and beyond. So we started in 1897 when, very surprisingly, the first brilliant African-American performers, the Broadway vaudeville team of Williams and Walker, performed at a Met Gala for the 19th century impresario Maurice Grau. Then we introduce you to the 25-year-old George Gershwin and his brilliant talent, recognized by the Met through its chairman at the time, Otto Kahn. Unfortunately, Kahn died in 1934, and when Porgy and Bess was premiered in 1935, it went up on Broadway instead of on the Met stage, which may have been its proper place as the great American opera of its era. Then we continue on to the Rudolph Bing era, as Maurice has described, the thrilling debut of Marian Anderson at the house, many other singers of that generation, the 50s and the 60s, and right up through the present day, and the golden anniversary production of Porgy and Bess here at the Met in 1985.
Wow. Wow. What do you hope that visitors will take away from the experience of seeing this exhibition?
Well, I hope that they will take away a clear understanding that this was a long history, that it didn't start with Marian Anderson in 1955, that there was a presence of Black performers at the Met long before then. But it's a story of triumph. It's a story of fortitude, of overcoming challenges. It's a story of leadership, because what happened in 1955 would not have happened without leadership.
Of course.
And also,
Of course.
it is a story about community engagement. We are aware of lots of correspondence from people in the 30s and in the 50s and 60s to Met administration saying, this is what we want to see on stage, this is who we want to see on stage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maurice and Carolyn. Thank you for speaking with me, and thank you so much for creating this very important exhibition.
Oh, thank you.
Our pleasure,
Thank
Audra.
you.
Thank you.
Now I get to speak with three of the brilliant women of Catfish Row. LaTanya Moore, who plays Serena, Golda Schultz, Clara, and Denise Graves, who sings Mariah. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Thanks for having us. So the citizens of Catfish Row are the backbone of the story. Can each of you tell me about your characters and how they fit into this community?
Serena, of course, is, the religious figure of the community. She's almost one of those women that you see in church, who's judging you and wagging the finger, but caring so deeply at the same time, She's the kind of character where you see at the beginning being very strong, but then as much as she tries to hold everybody together, when her husband dies, it's everybody else that has to hold her up. So I feel like it's a pretty incredible character, you get the full gamut of emotion with someone like her, very strong in the community. Yeah.
What about you, Denise?
I think of Mariah as sort of the mayor of Catfish Row, right? She's the mother, and I think taking care of a lot of probably your children, and I think she's probably been there the longest, and is protecting Catfish Row in the integrity of the row.
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably the keeper of all the secrets, too. Golda, how about you?
For Clara, I think she's one of those up-and-coming young people in the community. She's also being taken care of by this village of mothers, even in her early motherhood. So that's something so special that you get to experience, because it's so lovely having people remind you how to hold a baby, how to burp a baby.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Denise, as one of the world's leading mezzo-sopranos, thrilling Carmen, I bow to you. You have been a role model for a lot of the singers that you were sharing the stage with today. What's it been like to share the stage with this incredible company?
It's been something to be sort of the senior person in this cast and to get to know this new generation of singers, which I didn't know. I'd worked with Eric before and Arthur Woodley, but that was about it. So this is a new generation of people. It's a real pleasure. I love everybody. I've fallen in love with everybody.
We love you too, Denise. We really do.
Oh, gosh. And LaTanya, you're going to be singing Aida on this stage next season, and you've already sung it before. Amazing. And you also have a background in jazz. So
I do.
Do you draw on that when you're singing, Serena?
Indeed. Absolutely. Actually, before I was a jazz singer when I was in high school and at the beginning of college, and I ended up switching to opera when I was in college. And some of the standards I always sang. I sang Summertime. I sang It Ain't Necessarily So and things like that. And so when I even knew of an opera like this is when I was 17, and it was the first opera I ever saw. And I was like, that's exactly what I have to do. It's the best of both worlds, so I feel right at home doing a show like this.
Oh, it's wonderful. Brilliant. And Golda, as a South African, what is your perspective on this American opera?
I find that this is a very special experience because for me as a South African, we play this opera quite regularly in our repertoire, and being a person of color in the opera industry outside of South Africa, it's such a special feeling to join people who look like me, who remind me of my family and my home, and to be somewhere else and just to instantly feel that kind of community. So it's so beautiful to see people who represent people you love and care about and be in that space with them.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So I brought you some of my bakery every night.
Oh my gosh.
Every night I bake, me and the Food Network, I bake something for Catfish Row. So scones for everyone.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, as soon as the cameras stop rolling, I'm going to jump in there. LaTanya and Golda and Denise, thank you so very much. What a pleasure. And Toi Toi for the second half. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, I can't wait. Don't go far. And now two of the sociopath residents of Catfish Row. Frederick Valentine, who plays Sport and Life, and Alfred Walker, who plays Crown. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you two are the villains of the piece.
Yeah.
Bess. Now, how do you see your characters? Do you think they're bad? Do you think there's good in them?
I don't know if he's bad necessarily. Actually, yes, I do know. He's quite bad. He's just so selfish and narcissistic. So he doesn't really care about anybody else. He wants what's his throughout the entire show. So in that way, he is very bad. He does do some bad things to get what he wants.
Yeah, he's a snake. How about
I think
you?
Crown is very canine-like. You know, he owns things. So, you know, when a dog barks at the mailman, he's protecting the house and he's protecting his territory. So that's why I think I'm that way with the crap game. I'm that way with Bess. I don't think he's bad. I think he's not well trained.
So how has your director, James Robinson, worked with you guys on your characterizations? What has he done to help you find these gentlemen that you're playing?
Actually, I think like we have to thank James for that, but I also have to thank Camille as well. James, I've been working with him on the production for about 2 years now, and once he realized that I had a strong grasp of the character, he kind of just let me do what I want to do, which has been awesome. I love that I get on stage and just like really make it happen and like let the character drive me for that day. And then working with Camille, she's given me like a very serpentine way of moving and a serpentine way of interpreting the character. So I try to just like sneak around on stage until I have to strike, just like a snake.
Just like a snake, absolutely. We got a snake and a dog. So you both sung everything from Mozart to Wagner. How do you feel, and what is your approach when you're singing Gershwin?
I approach it like everything else. Just make sure I sing it with my voice. And so we're in the listening age. You know, everything is recorded. So there are a lot of recordings of Crown I could listen to. So I try not to let that seep into what I'm doing, make it my own. But it's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Freddie, I enjoy your call and response, and it ain't necessarily so. How much of that was improvised, and how much is it worked out in advance? Because you were making them sing some really high stuff today.
You know, I get on that stage every day, and like I said, I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
That's wonderful.
And they have no idea what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I fall to the ground, and they just have to be with me. And like, this is the most brilliant chorus ever. They sound like Verdi Requiem, truly. But they always like listen so closely. So I think sometimes I definitely do try to deviate. I try to like within the chord, of course, I try to throw some extra things in there, give them some B flats, or maybe even a C one day. Not today, but it's always a little something different.
Wonderful. Freddie, Alfred, thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful second half. You're brilliant, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.